Good morning, second graders. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Good? Okay, so today we're going to continue our unit on measurement. Can anybody remind me what we did yesterday or what we talked about? Yeah?
We defined measurement, estimation, and unit.
Berg, can you tell me the definition of measurement?
Measurement is like the length or the distance of something.
Yeah. Mackenzie, do you have anything to add? If not, that's okay.
Oh, we started measuring things with units.
We did, yes. And so today we're going to do a whole lot of measuring with a bunch of different units. So, okay. Sorry. So one thing to remember, you guys are gonna have a choice of a bunch of, hello, my apologies, of a bunch of different things to measure. You can measure anything in the room. One thing I do want to remind you of is if you're gonna be using the ruler or the yardstick, you have different units of measure on them, okay? So if you're gonna measure this computer right here, you wanna make sure you decide before you measure it if you're gonna use a foot, if you're gonna use inches or centimeters, okay? So I want you each to pick 3 items around the room. It can be anything we have over here. We have a little cat and a race car. Oh, and this box. You guys can use this box too.
I'm gonna measure the box.
You wanna measure the box? Okay.
I'm gonna do the block.
Okay. And I'm gonna pass out a couple other things for us to measure, okay? Oh, someone can have that car since it rolled its way over. And then we'll just put these here.
Can I use my pen?
Of course you can. So if you're gonna measure something though, you wanna make sure you use the same pen the whole time you measure it, okay? Could you find anything else in the room that would maybe be a little better to measure that car with?
Oh,
'Cause
we're
it's-
measuring the car.
Yes.
I thought we were measuring things around the room with the car.
You can do it, you can do anything you want. So you can use the car as your unit or tool that you're gonna measure with. You can use the pen. So if you want to measure the pen, you can use the race car.
Okay.
So I want you to measure your items and write them down, okay? So if you're gonna measure the pen, you can write pen, and then remember our equal sign that we talked
Yep.
about is how many cars long?
2.
2 cars long?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Can I use the ruler?
of course you can.
Thank you.
What unit of measure are you gonna use on that ruler?
Centimeters.
Centimeters, okay.
That's not an exact measurement.
If you're gonna get us into our lesson for tomorrow,
I'll try something.
but that's okay. So what are some words we can use when we are talking about measurement if it's not exact? What are some things you've heard?
Well, it's about half of the block.
What's that first word you said?
About.
About.
Estimated.
About, oh, you're gonna estimate? Okay, so it's about half of the block.
Yeah.
So if we wanna use our addition that we've been working on, how many full blocks is it?
1, 2, and about a half.
2.5 blocks. Perfect, so you can write that down. Okay. We also have some string you guys can measure with. This one's kind of long.
I'll measure with one of the strings. Thank you. I think this kitty's like half the string.
Half the string. Why don't would you like to do that, or should we move on and measure the table as a group?
We can move on.
Okay, so remember what we were talking about last week about the distance around something? What's that called?
Oh, perimeter.
Perimeter. Good job, Mackenzie. So what tool in this room do you think would be best? What's this called, Brooke?
The yardstick.
The yardstick? Why shouldn't we use the ruler?
Because the ruler's too small.
It's pretty small, huh? Could we use the ruler?
Yeah, we could, but it would take a long time.
We could, but it would take a lot longer. Okay, so I want you guys to get up. We're gonna move it around a little bit for this one. What unit of measure should we use? Should we use just yards? Should we use inches?
What do you think, Mackenzie?
Maybe yards.
Yards, okay. So, Mackenzie, do you wanna come do the first one?
Mm-hmm.
am gonna keep track of how many
So
yards.
it's 2 yards.
What would you say? Would you say that's about half?
Yeah, probably.
About 2.5? Okay. And how many sides of the table are this length?
2.
2? So we don't even have to measure that side, right? We can just say
Yeah.
that both sides are 2.5.
This one is
Should we say about 1?
about 1.
About 1. And how many sides are that length?
2. The
Perfect.
table is a rectangle.
Okay, so if we're gonna add up all of those sides, we have 2 sides that are 1 yard long and 2 that are 2.5. Okay, so who wants to do this on the board with me?
Okay. So.
Mackenzie, would you like to write?
Oh, sure.
There you
Okay.
go. So we have 2 sides.
Should I just write 2 sides?
Yeah. 2 sides that equal how many yards? 2.5. So you can do 2.5 or 2.5, whatever you would like.
Should I write
There's
2
Yep.
sides?
2 sides.
2
that are 1
sides
yard.
that are 1 yard.
Okay.
So Brooke, do you know what 2.5 plus 2.5 equals?
Well, 2
Or
plus 2 is 4, and then 2 halves is 1, so it'd be 5.
Perfect. So why don't we write 5 right here? 5 yards.
And then 2 yards, so that's 7 yards.
So how many yards is the perimeter of this table? 7 yards. Okay, good job you guys. We're gonna read our learning targets one more time before we head out to recess. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. I can measure a variety of objects. I can choose the proper unit or tool when measuring. Good job, you
Yay.
guys.